As I'm now joined by the panel, including John Smoltz staring deep into my head. Yet, oh, the delicious irony of all this. Ron Darling is here too. John Smoltz, Cliff Corcoran as well. Cliff, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Let me get your take on that, John. Again, I'm trying to be fair. I thought Dusty did a great job last time out. Dusty and the Astros, that's quite a combination I didn't see coming.
Yeah, we've kind of taken, look, the information's in the game, and it's there for a lot of people to utilize and become better. But the role of the manager has dramatically changed. I think the same rule applied 30 years ago that applies today. The goal is to get everybody on the same page moving forward. Don't get the train off the tracks. Have the continuity of whatever system you're working under work in a way that everyone feels like they're pulling in the right direction. So for some players, that might be information overkill. Knowing how to filter that information and communicate it is still the role of the manager. And I think his communication skills still work. They may not be as up to date with all the technology, but if you can get a team to believe not only they're good, which they are, but that you don't have these side distractions, then the role of the manager remains the same. It may not have as much autonomy and maybe doesn't have as much control, which is part of the change in the manager, but it still has to get that team of 25 roster, or now 26, all believing in something, whatever that is.
Okay.
Every team in the major leagues has a good analytics department now. But going from the Washington Nationals to the Houston Astros is like going from flight school to NASA. I mean, that's really the difference. And I think you made a good point. Going to the Washington Nationals and a team that had great talent. That's where he's going now. A team with great talent. He got the most, I thought, out of that talent, even though they didn't get through the first round. Now, I've heard a lot, of the PR part of it, that he's going to be able to go down there because he's Dusty Baker and wash everything away. That's not going to happen. He's going to be great, though, at being able to deal with the media on a day-to-day basis. I think where he's going to shine, to me, is that this is going to be the most difficult season the Houston Astros players will ever go in their entire career. This will be a season that every restaurant they go to, every bar they go to, every ballpark they go to, when they're walking on the street, they're going to get something, a snide remark, something's going to, and they're going to need the guy, I think, that has evolved in so many ways, Dusty, but also has kept what he's always had, that ability to wrap his arms around his players and get the most out of his players.
What do you think, Cliff?
I think that's absolutely it. We don't know what a scandal like this that cost the manager and general manager his job is going to do to a clubhouse. We don't know. Now the Astros haven't added very many players this offseason, but you bring a new player into that situation, or just the contrast between hitters and pitchers. We don't know what that's going to do, but you need somebody in that clubhouse. We used to make fun of clubhouse chemistry a lot back 15 plus years ago when Dusty was managing the Cubs and the managers were responsible for the X's and O's. Now there's an infrastructure, particularly with the Astros, of that sort of information getting down to the players, and you need somebody who's going to be able to hold this clubhouse together in light of what they're going to have to deal with this season.
All right, that's a good point. I think that I am as surprised that they didn't go for, and I guess it is, and I don't mean PR in a bad sense, but public relations in general, that it's better to go to a name manager. And that was the route they were taking, whether it was Buck Showalter or if it was Dusty Baker and that sort of thing.
Yeah, there's some value to that because they've had a lot of PR hits, not just this. I mean, there were hits they had handling media and certain situations that arose back before this all came out. And I think, look, I do feel bad. We don't know to the degree how much AJ was really in charge of all of that was going on, the distractions, the things that we know about now. I don't think anyone could have done a better job than he did up until this point with that club, with the information. So that's a shame that all of this has led it to removal of him, removal of the GM, and rightfully so, the punishments had to somewhat fit the crime. But to your point, I mean, now they need to change the narrative. They got to have a deflector. They really do, because, maybe times a little bit more than 2 or 3, when Patrick Reed had to deal with what he dealt with in the golf world at the President's Cup, every shot, everything that he was being cheater, he had to deal with it immediately
I missed all of that.
on a high level performance because of an infraction that was accused of him blatantly cheating.
Okay.
What Ron is saying is 100% right. This is going to go on everywhere, and at some point it'll die, but it won't die as quickly if you don't have the right person going,
right,
we're going to move on.
Well, you said, deflector is the right, and someone to actually absorb that energy, that negative energy, and turning it to something positive all throughout the season. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm still stunned it's Dusty. Still stunned. And I remember, and the fact that it hasn't happened yet still speaks to they're negotiating it, I guess. And remember, Dusty, when he went to the Nationals, remember that was right after they Bud Black, walked away because he wasn't being offered enough money. And then so Dusty had to negotiate that, and he was angry about the way he was let go after winning 95 games. So I'm sure these are interesting negotiations. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. I think that the way teams think of compensating managers now is certainly different than it was before. And I think that Dusty Baker probably is thinking to himself, hey, listen, I'm coming in here to clean this mess up. So
he's going to take some hits.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, exactly. I'm going to be absorbing a lot of these hits as I come in.
But what's interesting for any manager, and there were so many managers that interviewed, what's so amazing is that Dusty Baker as a manager might be this far away, a World Series away from going into the Hall of Fame. That's so attractive when you're with a team as talented as this team. And as we start spring training, who's going to be sharing a Palm Beach home? Of course, the Astros and the Nationals.
Yeah, right. They're right.
You know, the interesting thing, Brian, is I think you could handpick 1,000 different people that have no managerial experiences but may have a PR. This team's going to win a lot of games. So it's interesting to see how the credit is going to be dispersed on whoever manages this team that we already know is pretty good.
Right.
And analytically speaking, I don't know how you can make the difference between a +3 win or a +4 win or +1 versus when this thing infiltrates your whole club, you got to figure out a way to get it out of your club. Because when I had to deal with what only at our time was the John Rocker situation, and he didn't understand how we all felt the pain of that. Even though it was one person, we had to answer that constantly and realize how we attacked that and addressed it allowed us to continue to go on and win. If you do it the wrong way, it can have a negative impact on everybody.
Right. Again, a lot of things can go right, go wrong. Even when you're doing computer simulations of a season, you think, everything's going to land between 91 and 100. No, it can go between, way back 70s all the way up to over 100.